A 15-year-old girl is believed to have become the youngest ever Hong Kong protester to seek asylum in the United Kingdom. Called Aurora, she applied for asylum last week. She joins a growing list of Hong Kong pro-democracy activists fleeing the territory in the wake of Beijing's increased crackdown on dissidents. DW correspondent Phoebe Kong met Aurora before she travelled to the UK. Here's her story.
Aged 15, junior high school student Aurora is packing for a trip of no return. It will be her first time traveling alone. This frog plushie, the icon of last year's protest and a gift from her boyfriend, will be her only companion on her journey to the UK, where she is seeking political asylum. Once a shelter for political dissidents from mainland China, Hong Kong no longer seems safe, even for locals. Aurora is among the city's youngest exiles. The teenage protester was arrested in May and has been living in fear ever since.
Sometimes I feel like being tailed. I'm terrified of knocks on the door, as police may come after me. All my teammates during protests are charged for serious offences like rioting and arson. I'm afraid I'll be the next one someday. My boyfriend's identity makes me feel more insecure.
Aurora's boyfriend, Zhang Qi was the first protester shot by police with a live bullet last year. He is now facing 3 criminal charges. The 19-year-old was among a group of 5 activists who made a failed bid for asylum and assistance at the U.S. consulate in Hong Kong this October. One of them, former leader of a pro-independence group Tony Zhong, was arrested before he could reach the consulate gate and prosecuted under the national security law. Sources told DW that the other 4 activists, including Zhang Qi, were given advance permission to enter the consulate compound, but all were turned away after a brief stay without specific reason, although one of them is a U.S. citizen. The U.S. Consulate General in Hong Kong said it's unable to comment due to privacy issues.
We are worried about unfair trials and treatment in custody. The 3 protest-related charges Zhang Qi is facing may put him behind bars for 6 to 7 years. He was shocked and hopeless of being rejected by the consulate. Hong Kong authorities are trying every means to silence the dissidents. We are even more fearful under the security law.
The couple haven't seen each other in weeks because of safety concerns. Aurora regrets having to leave without saying goodbye to most of her friends and family, but she doesn't regret how her activism has affected her life.
My generation is losing our freedoms day by day. That's why I don't see my future. Seeking asylum may force myself into exile for the rest of my life, which makes me upset and anxious. But sacrifices have to be made. It's still worth fighting despite repression. Otherwise, Hong Kong might be dead a lot sooner.
Aurora has now arrived in the UK, where it will take 6 to 10 months to evaluate her asylum application. 2020 marks the start of a new political era in Hong Kong. But a generation of exiles like Aurora hope they can sustain their activism from afar.
And someone who knows all about sustaining that activism is Nathan Law, a former Hong Kong lawmaker in exile. He joins me now from London. Nathan, a 15-year-old applying for asylum. Has Hong Kong failed its young people?
Well, the news is definitely devastating because just put you in her shoes. 15-year-old girl trying to protect the city's freedom, but end up living in exile and has to apply asylum in another country is a devastating news and experience for her. And it also shows that the city indeed failed its young people and the people in general because, well, we were just fighting for democracy and autonomy, but the city's judiciary system and also the government put all the political persecutions on these freedom fighters. Yes, indeed, the political situation is really bad, and I think the 15-year-old girl is feeling imminent danger and make that unfavorable choice.
Now, the UK itself, where you are, has made it possible for Hong Kongers who were born before 1997, the year of the handover, a path to British citizenship. But that does not include people like Aurora, who were born after 1997. Do you think the UK government needs to rethink its policy?
Definitely, we've been in close contact with the UK government and has been proposing that the scheme should include individuals who were born after 1997, mostly aged from 18 to 23, and they are also in the main part of the protest to be able to have a pathway to citizenship in the UK. So indeed, we are very grateful for the BNO scheme, which allows 3 million eligible BNO holders to come to the UK. But I think there is a void in the scheme, and we could work hard to kind of make all the people in need have the opportunity to go to a free place as they wish.
How confident are you in your dealings with the UK government that the government is actually thinking of changing this policy?
I think the government is considering. Of course, there are lots of factors that the government has to consider, and we appreciate that because, well, it is a big policy, so there must be a lot of cooperation between departments and a lot of policy consideration. But I think that the government is indeed rethinking about the policy, and I really do hope that we can get good news in the upcoming future.
Now, besides Aurora, there are many other young protesters who are also fleeing Hong Kong and seeking asylum in countries like Germany, Canada, and the United States. How open have you found countries to granting asylum to Hong Kong activists?
I think it's quite early to say. We've got cases in Germany and Canada and some other places. But normally the asylum seeking procedure takes months to years. So for now, we don't have a massive amount of cases for well, good review or adequate reference. But I think in general, the reception of the countries arises with the exposure of Hong Kong's protest, and for Hong Kong people, we've got better documentation, etc. So I think indeed there are many countries improving their policy towards Hong Kong people who fled, for example, in the US. And I hope that by communicating with them and enhancing the efficiency of the asylum-seeking process, that we can let these countries to have a better understanding of what's happening in Hong Kong and benefit those who have left.
Nathan, one final question. What is it like to leave one's life behind where one grew up and never be able to go back again?
For me, I left the city at the age of 27. I've left it for 5 to 6 months. But occasionally, I've been thinking about home. I've been thinking about staying with my parents and my families, having dinner together. So it's definitely devastating and heartbroken when you think of these memories and you realize that you're unable to go back, possibly in decades' times or even for a longer time frame. So I think it's definitely a psychological pain for a lot of people, and it's difficult. But I think for us, we have greater cause. We are pursuing a cause that is larger than ourselves, and it's for the people of Hong Kong, for their basic rights. So I think for me, I never regret, and I think most of the others share the same feeling.
Nathan Law, thank you very much for speaking to us.